Today we're making mermaid tail pendants inspired by my whale live stream. What you're going to need for this project is 18, 20, 22, and 24 gauge wire, your tools, your beads, and I'm using these Beadsmith looping pliers. I have a template you can download in the description below, and also the whale template that's available. So for the first one, we're going to take some 18 gauge wire and just bend it in half with our looping pliers. So smooth out the wires, and then with one of the larger areas of the looping pliers, we're going to form a curve with the two wires together like that, and then bend it down. Now take your small pliers and do a little bend and back to the looping pliers to bend it up. So it looks like you have one of the parts of the tail. Do any little bends, bend it right up, and then just do a little bit of a bend at the top, just at an angle. So now we're going to take this and open it up like a book, and that way you're going to have a very symmetrical mermaid tail. Twist the other wires to the back, just at a little half turn, and then get your looping pliers to finish those loops at the top. So hold it with the smallest part of the looping plier, bend it back, and do the other side and just bend it around into a loop. Now get your flush cutters and clip it. You want to clip both ends flush, and then you're going to get your flat pliers and just pinch in the pokey ends. Just adjust them if you need to. And then push the little wires together, straighten them out as you need, wiggle them around until they're just right. And there you have your simple mermaid tail. So for the one with the spirals, we're going to get a 20 gauge wire. Once you bent it in half, we're just going to bend it like we did the first one with the two wires together. Get your small pliers and bend it up and out to form the tail. And now get your looping pliers and bend the wires straight up as we did in the first one. And now we're going to open it up like a book. So you have the basic tail. And now we're going to bring in the looping pliers and start our spiral. So we'll just do one loop and then bring it in and do another loop, same size. And now I'm going to get the end of the pen and do my little hack how I like to make my spirals, which is just to form a little bit of a cone with the wire. I have tutorials on how to make wire spirals that I'll link up below. So just bring the wire around the same amount and then clip the end in the same position. So now we're going to take the end of the wire with our small round pliers, and with a flick of the wrist we're just going to rotate that little end in and push it down to make the spiral. So same on the other side, take the end with the fine round nose pliers, twist it around. I'll link up where you can get these pliers on Amazon. So just keep rotating the end in to form the spiral, pushing it down so it's more flat. You can keep going in and adjusting it until they're symmetrical. So there's your spirals. And then with the flat pliers, you can just pinch them down so they're flat. You can also hammer this if you would like at this point. So now we can take the looping pliers and twist the end into a loop. Make sure the loop is closed. And there we have the simple tail with the spirals. So now for this one with the beads, we're going to take 20 gauge wire again, bend it in half with the looping pliers, and then start forming the tail. As we did before, back and forth. You can also follow the pattern, you can trace it, but I find this is the easiest way to get a nice symmetrical tail. I've used the same method to make butterflies. I could link up that tutorial in the description below as well. So keep adjusting it until you like the shape, smoothing out the wires with your fingers, and then we're going to open it up like a book. So now we're going to take our looping pliers, hold the wire and bend it to the outside. Just keep adjusting it so it's in the right position. Flip it around and do the same on the other side. So that's our starting point. So now I'm going to slide on a 6mm cat's eye bead and wind the wire around the bead. Just surround it and then clip the wire. I've cut them too long. I always cut my wires too long to be sure. And we're going to slide a 4mm bead on there. Also a cat's eye bead in the light pink color. This wire is rose gold from Artistic Wire. So we've surrounded that bead and we're going to bend the wire around to the back and clip it. So now we're going to pinch that little end in with the flat pliers and we'll do the same on the other side. So the 6mm bead, hold it in place with your thumb and your finger and rotate the wire around just to surround that bead. And then the 4mm cat's eye bead, slide it on there, wiggle the wire around if it gets a little stuck. The hole of the 4mm bead is quite a bit smaller, so wind the wire all the way around, bend it to the back, and we'll clip it. And again, pinch in that little pokey end with the flat pliers. Adjust it as you need, and then take the looping pliers and wind it around to form the bail at the top. Pinch it in, and there's your beaded mermaid tail. So for this one, again, we'll start in the same way. You can use 18 gauge wire for this or 20 gauge. And we'll just form it around as we did in the first one. I'm using my flat pliers this time to bend up the end. It's a little bit of a sharper angle. And then we'll bring in the looping pliers again to form the tail. And bring this one around. So this one is finished slightly differently. We're going to finish it at the top with the two ends at the top. So open it up And now rotate the ends to the back. So after that, we'll form each loop individually with our looping pliers. So just bring the wire around to the outside to form the loop, making sure they stay in the same position, the same height. So once you have those loops formed, get your flush cutters and just give them a little clip. You want to cut them really flush so they sit right in there. And get the flat pliers and pinch the ends in. So now I'm getting some 22 gauge wire. You could use 24 if you prefer. And we're going to secure it in the middle of the tail. So just wind it as many times as you need to hold it in place. And I'm putting a 4mm miracle bead first. And then we'll wind it around. And then we're going to put another bead on there. I'm going to stick with the smaller beads, the 4mm miracle beads, and I'll link up in the description. I've found a good source for these beads on Etsy. And I generally use 3 different sizes. I use 4, 6, and 8, but for this particular design, I'm just using the 4s. You can also make these mermaid tails larger for sun catchers. The sky is the limit with these designs. So I'm going to use 3 beads altogether on each side. Wind the wire around. Position them as you need. And then we'll just finish up the end by winding it through. And go around another time if you want it a little bit more secure. So now if you need your pliers just to pull the end, you can use your flat pliers, clip the end, and pinch it. Once you've done both sides, just adjust the top as you need, wiggle it around so they're even. And there you have your beautiful beaded mermaid tail. So for the last one, we're going to start it as we've done previously. At the top, we're using 20 gauge wire, and we're going to form the tail with the looping pliers. And then we're going to get the small round pliers to do the bend at the bottom. Back to the looping pliers. Bring the wires up. Wiggle it around to get it in the right position as you need. And then open it up like a book. So from there, we're going to put the 2 ends together and slip on a 6mm miracle bead. The miracle beads are good because they have a slightly larger hole that will fit both wires. Now we're going to bend the wires to either side of the bead, holding it in place, and we want to surround that bead with wire. So hold the bead firmly and bend the wires to either side so they're fully surrounded. And then we can flip it over and put one of the wires to the other side so you have the bead surrounded on both sides. And just go all the way around. Wiggle it around to get it firmly against the bead. Straighten the ends a little bit if you need with your fingers. Now get your little pliers, little round pliers, and we're just going to do a few little loops just to make it look a little bit more fancy. So I've done 3 little loops, and then I'm just going to take the end, wind it to the back, clip it flush, and pinch in that pokey end. Rotate it to get it in snugly. And now we are going to bring the wire back to the front to do our loops and get our round pliers. Hold it in the same position as you did on the first side. Just adjust it as you need and do our 3 little loops. Looks really nice with the loops. Gives it a little bit of texture and pattern. Make sure they're more or less in the same position, going the same direction, and then wind around your last one. Bend it to the back. Give it a little clip with your flush cutters. Pinch in that end and push the wires closer to the bead if you need. Wiggle it around so it's flat. Push in those little pokey ends if they're not even. And then we'll get our looping pliers to form the bail at the top. Just rotate it in. And there you have your last mermaid tail. So thanks so much for watching the video. Give it a big thumbs up if you liked it. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for lots more wire art and jewelry making videos. And if you'd like to share photos of your wire art and jewelry, be sure to join the Wire Makers Club on Facebook. And if you'd like to check out my work on Etsy, my husband and I specialize in custom wedding cake toppers and funky jewelry. I also have a mailing list, so if you'd like to sign up below, I'll send you my Wire Art Essentials ebook. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you the next time.